Okay, let's get started. We are talking all things collagen today. For those who I haven't met, my name's Alicia Edge. I'm an advanced sports dietitian, and we are going into quite a little supplement, theme at the moment. We chatted about creatine, so if you haven't checked that one out, please go and have a listen. Last live around a few weeks ago now. It is now on YouTube, but also our podcast. And when we're looking at creatine, I think there was some really good discussions around where's the evidence actually sit. Is there any risk, and what does supplementation look like and who for? Very similar chat today on all things collagen. Collagen can be found in so many different things now, including all things, beauty bars, all the way to supplements, athlete space. And I'll cover all aspects today in terms of both the athlete, the aging population, but also general population as well, on where collagen sits, why we might be considering supplementation, and when. So let's start. In case you would like a little refresher on what collagen is basically the most abundant protein in your body. So like 90% of the protein in your body is collagen. So I think keep that in mind as we work through now what we actually need and when. Because when we're looking at collagen on how we used to eat as humans, which was, like nose to tail kind of vibe of how much animal we ate and how much collagen as a result was part of that, continue now to now, and it's a lot of lean meat, chicken breasts, that kind of thing, for example, and not much of the high collagen parts of the animal. So not only in aging does our body create less collagen, but also exogenously we actually have less coming in through our diet now, just through culture. So because it's the most abundant, we do actually create it in our body. As I said, it does decline as we age, but we also need it from our food. So collagen is part of 3 amino acids. So it's got glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline as the 3 amino acids. However, on its own as a supplement, it doesn't necessarily do much. And that's why it's really important that we consider the whole piece of this supplementation so that it's done effectively and we don't have clients that are just wasting their money on collagen without it doing anything in terms of improvement for what they're wanting to take it for. Now, it's really fundamental, like collagen is really fundamental in that extracellular matrix. So it has the structural piece, but also the strength and mechanical strength bit as well. So if we're thinking about where collagen is highest, it's definitely in our connective tissues. So if we think about connective tissues, we're talking bone, we're talking ligaments, tendons, and alongside that, things like cartilage. So when we're wanting to think about whether we should be supplementing, we can start to theme that into not only what do we actually want to supplement for, is collagen the best protein to be supplementing with, but also what type do I need? Now, there is a fair few types of collagen. I think there's like 28 distinct types actually. But really, you need to know about the main 3. And I encourage you just to know about the main 3, to be honest, because 28 different types of collagen. I don't know about you, but I just don't have space in my head to really memorize what each type of collagen is. So the 3 types of collagen, type 1 is basically the most prevalent. So most of the collagen in our bodies is type 1 collagen. And it's where we would see the really predominant amounts in things like skin, tendon, ligament, bone. And type 1 collagen is mainly in marine-based collagen. So note that down. In that little brain of going, marine collagen is great for things like bone health, tendon and ligament health, but also things like skin health. So bucket that. Type 2 collagen is predominant in cartilage. So this is where it's best for joint health. It's mainly found in chicken-based collagen options, but also bovine as well. So it's a little bit harder to come by. It's not necessarily as prevalent on the market. You will find it by searching things like joint collagen or chicken collagen is the way that I often search for it. It's definitely present on the Australian market and you can find it. And that is when you would recommend this to someone who's looking for joint health, as an example. So we're really making sure we're wanting to target the right area based around the clinical need of the person in front of you. Type 3 is the other one to consider. It works really quite closely with type 1 in a lot of the connective tissue, but alongside that, type 3 is mostly found in things like muscles, arteries, and organs. So we generally don't have much need to supplement with type 3 at the moment where the research is, but it's also found in bovine collagen. So there's a crossover between type 2 and type 3, depending on how that you are supplementing or how you're recommending supplementing for your clients. So when we're looking at the bioavailability, I don't know, I might be showing my age, but when the collagen research first started to come out in terms of tendon and ligament health and injury, we would actually use gelatin. Like, we would go to Coles or Woolies, we would buy a whole lot of cooking gelatin, and we would create really high gelatin recipes or place it into smoothies and shakes. And I don't know if you've ever tried to do that, but gelatin doesn't dissolve well. And so we would be feeding this disgusting, lumpy, horrible, like, mix of collagen to players and athletes in times of things like tendinopathy, ACL injury, other ligament tendon injuries. And it was really poorly tolerated. Collagen is actually quite a large protein and it's really poorly absorbed. So if you are supplementing with something like gelatin in the amounts that it was calling for, very normal to have some gut upset associated with that. And hydrolyzed collagen just was not a thing. Oh my God, I'm so old. But anyway, it wasn't actually even that long ago, guys. Like, we're literally talking 2012, 2013, like, 10, 11, 12 years ago. But anyway, not that long ago. I was lining up in Coles and just scanning through all my gelatin. So it has come a long way. The market has gone faster than the research in some regards, but because it is so large, going for hydrolyzed collagen is the way to make it smaller, more bioactive, and ideally, higher digestibility and absorption to actually be used. So we're looking at options that allow for that collagen peptide to be available. So that's kind of where that bioavailability piece really needs to be considered, is like, I don't want to just choose some kind of collagen. I need to make sure that it's the right type, but also that it's available and the right option and dosage, which we'll go through in a sec as well. Now, one piece that I find really intriguing, and again, the research is still so new in collagen, which I think is one reason why I loved it. I feel really grateful that the collagen research was coming out when I worked at the AIS, in Oz Institute of Sport. And so we actually had, like, the lead researchers in collagen come to AIS, do presentation sessions with us. And also, one of my key mentors was just obsessed in the best possible way in this collagen space for the types of athletes he was working with. And so I got a lot of osmotic learning from that. It was a lot. It was really technical and sciencey. But I think what was really cool is that, there was lots of fails in the research, but also lots of great things coming through. A lot was done in the Petri dish to show the interaction, and now it's translated to the human. One piece of, like, real necessity when it comes to collagen, though, is the discovery of a really essential cofactor of vitamin C. So one way that this was found is that well, not necessarily, they didn't discover it, but I think this was really fascinating, is a study was done and they couldn't, like, all this stuff, they were doing all these things with collagen and they couldn't find anything that showed any positive outcome. They're like, what on earth? Like, it doesn't match up to the previous research. We were so sure that this hypothesis would work, but also alongside that had another thing they were testing. And it turns out that they had stored the vitamin C that they were supplementing with in this study on top of a fridge in the sun. And for those who are aware, vitamin C is very sensitive to UV and sun and heat, and it no longer was active. And so they were supplementing with collagen without vitamin C present. And it actually just obliterated the results, and there was nothing positive that came out of the collagen. So as the research was coming out, I was really frustrated to then see that the supplement companies weren't keeping up with that research, and they were releasing supplement of collagen without vitamin C present, which made it just that little bit more complex. But what happens is that while collagen provides the amino acids that we want, so those signals, if you like, those signals for the molecules alongside the amino acids of the proline, the hydroxyproline, and also the glycine, it doesn't actually create something that's functional and useful to the body. So it's insufficient to create functional tissue. Now, vitamin C as an antioxidant actually is that non-negotiable with collagen. So if you have a client wanting to take collagen or you've recommended collagen, you need to make sure there's adequacy in vitamin C. Now, we are still unsure whether that adequacy of vitamin C is enough just through daily intake, or whether vitamin C containing foods at the time of collagen is enough, or whether we need to supplement with synthetic vitamin C alongside the collagen. And so, because we don't know, I would highly recommend supplementing with vitamin C alongside collagen if you can. It doesn't need to be a high dose, but it does need to be available at the same time as the collagen for the collagen to be functional and useful when taking it. So, making sure that we don't just throw money down the toilet, basically. Um, so, that's like the kind of the non negotiable is that collagen has to go with vitamin C in the dosage. And when we're thinking about when we might be recommending collagen, there's a few set examples. So let me start in sports. I feel like that's where a lot of the research and the hype started alongside the skin side of things. Now, there's two sides to this that is still kind of in discovery phase, but also in exploratory phase with the sports space in functional performance and whether collagen supplementation can help with functional performance outcomes or, and plus, structural integrity, adaptation to the connective tissue kind of vibe. Now, the research currently in the sports space is much heavier in the adaptation support and structural integrity compared to like the performance outcome. So, when you're looking at things like, say, who is supplementing, there is some positive markers that we can see if we've got, say, aging population going into resistance training and taking collagen before because of that age-related decline. There may be a positive outcome to collagen supplementation before strength training. However, it's not strong and it just doesn't exist in the space of supporting literal like performance outcomes in the athlete. So it's not something that you would replace, your whey protein for in terms of recovery of the muscle and those types of things for the reason I'll get to in a second. But it is something that may reduce the risk of injury and mitigate injuries as a result of how it works structurally and mechanically as a support. So there's like that preventative space, but then there's also the space of utilizing it in the moment of injury, which we'll cover as well. Now, no matter when you're using it, the whole point of this, especially in that sports space, is considering when you want to take it. Now, you can think of collagen working best when you think of, say, the ligament or tendon being under load like a sponge. So where, say carbohydrate or protein gets like utilized by the muscle in a different way, you can think more like collagen, like a sponge in the blood. Sorry, not collagen being the sponge, the tendon or ligament being more like a sponge where it needs access to those really key amino acids at the time that it's under load and getting that trigger to remodel. So say you have an athlete that has their legs rested all day, pretty quiet day. Taking collagen will do maybe a little bit in the skin space and maybe a little bit in the tendon, ligament, soft tissue space, but it will be best utilized if it's available at the time that the tendon and ligament is contract response. So you've got the importance there to take collagen about 40 to 50 minutes before a session. And that way, those amino acids are peaking at the time that the tendon, ligament, and all the things are under load. So really, really important in terms of timing. It's like a key piece of not only the amount, which we'll go through, but also that timing and nailing that so that it's utilized at its best. What else should we cover? So there's I'm just trying to make sure I don't forget any of the stuff. Oh, the injury side. So this is probably where we see it utilized most in the sports space. I will get to Gen Pop in a sec. And in the sports space, you'll see it mainly be utilized in ligament and tendon injury, but it's also gaining traction in tendinopathy management and absolutely important for bone health, bone stress injury rehab as well. So when you're looking at the amount, it does change depending on what you're doing and what it's for, but the timing doesn't change where you are still wanting to deliver that collagen when the body is under load. So you're wanting those peak amino acids at the time that it's under load in the gym or on the pitch, and like depending on where the injury is, for example. And it's very different functions to something like whey protein. So it's not necessarily one or the other. It's that they are literally just different proteins. And it's not to say that collagen is a low quality protein. I think sometimes that's called that because it's not complete in amino acids. but it has a very specific need and validity in use that is different to muscle recovery or that muscle protein synthesis that we get from, say, that leucine amino acid trigger. So that's kind of in that athlete space where we might use it for the mechanical strength support integrity bit in the preventative and mitigation space. We might use it for chronic pain management in, say, the tendinopathy piece, but we also might use it in acute injuries, say with bony stress injuries, but also things like ligament and tendon injury as well. Clinically, there's also this consideration of joint functionality, and I think this is a really exciting bit that we can absolutely help with alongside other joint-based joint support supplements. Collagen can be a really great thing to consider, particularly in the space of like joint pain to help with that. So it's best when combined with exercise is where the research currently sits in this space. So you can't just give collagen and go, your joints are fixed. It's best utilized under load, as we've already gone through, and to build up that to build up that cartilage and see those best results. We pair it with exercise to help with that joint pain and, the decline that happens across aging as well. Now, the best one, if you remember from the start around the different types of collagen, type 2 is going to be what you would want to have access to for the cartilage side of things and joint health. So you can absolutely have someone taking 2 types of collagen. That's fine. The most abundant type on the market is hands down type 1, and for good reason, the marine collagen. But type 2 is also readily available. So just making sure you're doing your research, making sure you're not just saying collagen to someone, and being really thoughtful with which collagen, what brand and what type you're recommending to someone is really, really important there. In terms of the bone side of things, there's a couple of pieces there that to consider. In the sports space, I will readily utilize it for overall bone mineral density and increasing bone health, particularly if someone has screened low for BMD compared to where I would like them ideally. It would be paired with something like vitamin D if they're deficient, but also something like calcium and overall energy availability. But it can be a really good addition, that type 1 collagen, alongside the loading to the bone, of course, as we've already gone through. The only thing with the bone side of things is it's really long term. So when we're looking at the research in bone health and the utilization of collagen, we really only see it once we've kind of hit that, 12 plus months. So it's a daily option, which we will get to, is quite expensive. So I think that's a really important thing that we consider, is not just the science, but also how is this enabled or in the capacity of those that we're talking to as an option. Skin. Now, skin and collagen has been so widely pushed. I think that's probably the main reason why collagen has absolutely exploded onto the market. They have an active audience and also they sell hope, right? So with collagen and skin, the evidence is actually quite good. It shows increases in hydration, reductions in wrinkle. But what we want to really kind of push is just being really critical with the way that we read these studies. A lot of them do have some conflict of interest, but as a trend, they're quite high quality studies more recently, and it is something worth considering. And again, it's that type 1 collagen. So the way I see it in the skin space is also, what else can I get out of this? Is it worthwhile of the investment? What is the risk versus reward? And is there no chance of harm, for example? So I think that's all really, really important in how we consider the utilization of collagen, and also, as you'll see in a sec, how much we're recommending as well. There is some discourse around things like nail and hair health in the collagen space that honestly has there is just very little research in that area. We can probably extrapolate that there might be some advantage based around the evidence we have with skin, but it is really not something that I'd be like, right, you need collagen. It's what's the full picture of the why behind, nails and hair health being an issue. What other things do we need to consider? And if we are going to supplement with collagen, it's more than likely that we also need to consider what other supplements are coming in there if they're deficient. So just being aware that the research isn't as heavy in that, emerging maybe, but definitely not in a place yet that we're like, yes, definitely do this and how much you need. But it'd be the type 1 as well. So again, that crossover. Um, oh, just like flying through time, I apologize. In terms of dosage, this is where I think we are still getting to a place of working through how much needed per day. And it's also really dependent on why someone is taking it. So on a low daily dose, this would be around the 5 grams per day. This is more for like long-term bone health, I would say, and long-term tendinopathy. Sorry, Steph, I'm just muting you. And also for that long-term bone health, and also for like that generalized tendinopathy piece and possibly skin health, but ideally even for skin and also for tendinopathy. And as we move through things like joint pain, osteoarthritis, we're looking at like a 5 to 15 gram per day. Now, this is relevant when I get to the cost side. The high dose, anywhere from 15 to 25 grams, is absolutely what you would need for acute injury rehab. So stress bone injury, but also things like ACL, other ligament and tendon injury. That specific timeline of having a high dose to ensure that that's available for the remodeling is really, really key. Alongside, obviously, other rehab and return to play options, both in nutrition and also supplements, but collagen can be a part of that. Now, the timing, just to review, has to be with vitamin C. That can be done through food, but also I find it just really easy to make sure that you're choosing a collagen that has vitamin C included. And if it doesn't, I would consider utilizing a third-party batch-tested vitamin C if you're working with professional or tested athletes, or just a vitamin C if that's a general population piece for you. Additional kind of, I guess, discussion. One of the things I've already brought up is cost. And I think it's really important we don't lose sight of the financial privilege that some of these supplements have attached to them. So when we're talking around options with our athletes or our individuals that we're working with, it's really important that we're giving them the information to allow them to make the decision that's right and best for them. And that's not right or best for them in terms of their rehab. It's right or best for them for all the areas of well-being in their life that they've got capacity for, both financially, mentally, physically, and environment-based wise as well. So the piece for you is you can guide them to that decision, but you can't make that for them, depending on what privilege they've got in all those different areas of well-being, which isn't said as a negative or a positive. It's just understanding that you need to meet that individual where they are and ensure that you're giving them options that are relevant and in the capacity of them in that moment in time as well. Because it does really add up. A lot of the packets are quite small. And so as soon as you're talking around a high dose, say for an acute injury of 15 to 25 grams, you might only get 7 to 10 days out of a packet. And that is like a lot per day. So making sure you're giving them lots of great information, different options as well, if that doesn't work, and working with them on what other things they can control or have access to if collagen is beyond their financial means. When we're talking around things like the behavior stack piece of this, it's really important that when you're giving information around, say, something like collagen, where it is really important that it's timed before a certain event, like, say, the strength session or training session, that you give them a bit of a prompt of when it would be good to take. So don't just say to someone, okay, 40 to 50 minutes before, take this. It's like, when you do this, you will now also take collagen. Or when you make this, add the collagen in, so that it's something that is just tacked onto their life and stacked into something they're already doing, so that it doesn't feel like just another thing they've got to remember and another action they've got to add into their maybe sometimes already stressful lives, particularly if they've just gone through a major injury, as an example. The other big barrier just to be aware of is there's no vegan or vegetarian collagen that has been found to be useful at all. So if you are working with a vegetarian or vegan client, it's really, really important to remember that, first of all, before you recommend collagen. And just really working through why they follow a vegetarian and vegan diet, working through what they feel they have capacity to try if you feel like collagen is a really important part of them, say returning to play or seeing improvements in their symptoms, and then working alongside them on what success looks like. So I've had lots of different conversations in this vein, and no two are the same. And I think it's just about presenting this is where the evidence is at. This is why I think it's a great idea and a great addition, but also knowing you can't force them to take a supplement if it's against their values, their decision. And it's about hearing their voice and respecting that and not invalidating their decision. So I've had individuals decide not to take collagen due to their values or their type of diet that they follow and their dietary needs. But I've also had others that are like, can we just do it for these set days in, the key dates of my injury rehab, and then go off it so that it's really purposeful, it's respectful of what matters to them, and it also just hears their voice. So just be really aware that unlike creatine, collagen is something that is created through animal proteins. So you've got the chicken, bovine, and also marine. And each one will have a different, I guess, usefulness depending on what you need it for. And you need to just give the information that is relevant to the client to then be able to make an informed and confident decision for them and what's right for them. But yeah, just something to be aware of. All right. I really failed at predicting how long that would take. I was really thinking I was just not going to be able to talk for long enough, but it turns out I have filled that time very quickly. So opening up for questions, does anyone have any questions or concerns when it comes to collagen or things they've found hard in the past when considering whether to utilize it with a client or an athlete before? Awesome. That looks pretty good. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining our session today, everyone. I hope you learned something new. I am so sorry. I feel like I got really tongue tied today. It's been quite a big week. Oh, thank you so much, Lauren. But I still hope you got plenty out of it. So, really looking forward to the discussion to happen off the back of this. It's a really exciting supplement. I would say that we can utilize quite readily with low risk with a lot of our individuals and also players, athletes that we work with. So, yeah, let me know how you go. And as always, make sure that you sign up to the Compeat Academy if you're not a member already, because these are where these conversations happen all the time, but also where we have a central database of all these different modules on those specific topics. So, please reach out if you would like to become a member of our crew. We are just so grateful to have such a beautiful team behind us. So thank you so much, everyone, and we'll chat soon. Bye.